Why the process was a failure for the Sixers. Let's get into this.
Dosage. Oh yeah, I work with the medics. I'm about to get you injected. I got a couple connections so I can get you prosthetics.
Quickly before we get the video started, if you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more NBA content just like this one, hit that subscribe button and that post notification bell. Anyways, back to the video. The Philadelphia 76ers started the quote-unquote process all the way back in the 2013-2014 NBA season. But what did the process actually mean for the Sixers? So basically what the process meant is the Sixers were going to put the worst possible product out there on the court each and every night to try to lose each and every night. And of course, the more games you lose back then, and still today, but it was more so back then, the better chance you would get to actually getting a high draft pick. And the Sixers would not only try to tank and try to lose on purpose, but they would take that to another level where they would basically trade everybody on their team that had value in order to gain some more draft picks in return. So basically what the Sixers were doing, and Sam Hinkie's vision, was they were going to put the worst possible product out there, maybe resting their star players or resting the better players on their team, until eventually they would trade away those star players or better players on their team in return for some draft picks and continuously just get as many draft picks as they possibly could, and also lose as much as they possibly could to get as high of a draft pick as they possibly could with their own pick. And basically the thought process behind the process was Sam Hinkie thought instead of getting the #1 overall selection in 1 year's draft, where you could potentially draft the wrong guy and that would push your organization back for years and years, he thought it would make a lot more sense and a lot safer to actually maybe get, let's say, 5 first-round picks in 1 year's draft, or you have 5 different opportunities and you would have a much better chance at actually drafting one player that turned out to be a great player out of those 5 in the first round, rather than just having one draft pick that was a #1 overall selection. And that was basically what the process meant. But currently at this point, the process is certainly over, but after all that losing and all those draft picks that the Sixers have brought in, what did they actually gain? What players did they actually bring in to their organization during the quote-unquote process? So of course, a main guy that they brought in during the process, and currently the best player on the Sixers now, is Joel Embiid. I think we all know how great Embiid is, and probably the best center in the NBA, if not certainly a top 2 or 3 center in the league. But basically what Embiid could do on the offensive side is everything. Of course, he has that great 3-point jump shot where he can catch and shoot, maybe run the pick and pop from that 3-point area, and he also has pretty good range as well. But besides just his 3-point shooting ability, he also has a very prolific mid-range shooting ability, where of course you can run the pick and pop like that as well and hit some deep mid-range jump shots, catch and shoot. He also has a fantastic post turnaround fadeaway within his game, which I mentioned in a lot of my videos, but I think that's one of the more important shots to have in your arsenal as a star player. In my opinion, I think it really raises your points per game, but also really raises your efficiency numbers. When you shoot that post turnaround fadeaway, it's very difficult for the opposing player to block it, but not only block it, to really get a true contest on it. So that's why, in my opinion, the post turnaround fadeaway shot is one of the more effective ones, and definitely a very important shot to have in your arsenal. But besides just his great 3-point shooting and fantastic mid-range shooting ability, Embiid's a great post player where he has so much strength, he has the ability to just back down whatever player's defending him and just putting up those hook shots around the basket, either with his left or right hand. Also having the ability to just push you all the way under the basket and dunk over you. He's pretty athletic as well, and he just has a great touch around the basket, of course, as well. But besides that, what makes Embiid so special, just besides being a 3-level scorer, is he also has the ability to catch the ball at that 3-point area, quickly dribble by whatever defender is guarding him, and dunk over that player or finish around them with crafty layups once he gets to the basket. Embiid offensively is so talented, and if I had to say, I probably would say he's the best center in the NBA in my opinion. But what makes Embiid so special is not only is he so versatile and so great offensively, but he's also so great and versatile on the defensive side as well. Defensively, Embiid is certainly fantastic at meeting people at the rim once they get there and blocking people's shots, or really just getting a great contest on it to really change the player's shots. But also Embiid is actually pretty underrated in defending on the perimeter. Of course, as a center, especially in the new age NBA, where everybody's switching constantly, there's going to be some situations where your center is on a point guard or your center is on a shooting guard or small forward or whatever, and that player offensively is going to have way better foot speed than the center, of course. But Embiid does a pretty good job at actually staying in front of whatever player he's defending, specifically on the perimeter, and even if that player blows by him, he also has the ability to make up that distance with his crazy long wingspan, as well well as crazy athleticism, and get some chase down blocks like that as well. So overall, both offensively and defensively, he's so versatile and so special, making Embiid one of the best players in the league. But besides just Embiid, one of the other players that in my opinion the Sixers had some great success with in terms of drafting was Ben Simmons. I know currently Simmons is not on the team and a lot of people don't even think he's a superstar anymore or even an all-star and just think he's not a great player anymore, but in my opinion I still think there's a lot of talent there, and I personally think the Sixers still, even though at this point he's not with the team and it's looking like he's going to get traded, I still personally think it was a great draft pick by the Sixers at the time. What Ben could do offensively is pretty phenomenal. Of course he doesn't have that three-point jump shot and he doesn't have a jump shot in general honestly, but he does have somewhat of an ability to shoot from that mid-range area. It's definitely not great, but it's getting better and it's definitely there, I would say. He also has a great ability at putting up a little bit of a floater and has a great touch around the basket and as a post game, which is kind of unique for someone playing at that point guard position. But also when getting all the way to the basket, he's super athletic, easily can dunk over whatever defenders in the paint. He's also ambidextrous, who can finish around the basket with crafty layups, either with his left or right hand. And overall, when he has a full head of steam heading downhill all the way to the basket, it's almost impossible to stop Ben. But offensively, what really makes Ben so prolific is his passing and playmaking ability. At that 6'10 size, Ben obviously has an advantage as he's much taller and can see over the defense a lot easier than a typical point guard at that 6'3", 6'4 size. And also with that long wingspan that Ben has and having the ability to pass with either hand, he just has natural advantages over some other point guards in the league. So Ben always surveys the defense pretty effectively, is always going to find that wide open teammate, either in the corner for a wide open three, at the wing, whatever, cutting all the way to the basket. Ben just has a fantastic vision out there and he's always going to find the wide open guy. But besides just his great offensive game, defensively Ben is one of the most talented players in the league. He always guards the opposing team's best player and basically locks them down. He's very talented in terms of his defensive ability, but besides that he has a great skill and great knowledge of defense, and he always gets in the passing lanes for easy steals and then goes on the other side and gets easy dunks for himself or for a teammate. But also he has a great ability at actually poking the ball loose from the player that he's actually guarding. So overall, although Ben currently at this point is not in the best place, I still personally think there's some talent there and he's a really good player. But besides those main two guys in Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, the Sixers had a ton of different draft picks. They drafted high in the draft as well, but those players didn't necessarily turn out the way the Sixers would have liked. Of course, they had guys like Nerlens Noel, who was a good player, but didn't necessarily turn out the way the Sixers would have liked. Jahlil Okafor, definitely a bust. Guys like Markelle Fultz, who was drafted with the #1 overall selection as well. He turned out to be a bust, although I think he's a pretty good player at this point. And although the Sixers had a ton of different draft picks, they didn't necessarily draft anyone crazy besides those main two guys. So with all that being said, why do I personally think that the process never worked out for the Sixers? So of course the process certainly brought the Sixers some success. It brought them a fantastic player in Joel Embiid, as well as a really good player in my opinion in Ben Simmons. But the reason why I personally think that the process didn't work out for the Sixers is because not only did they not win an NBA championship over the past few seasons, but they weren't even all that close honestly. The whole goal of this process and drafting all these players and getting all these draft picks and bringing all these guys into your organization was of course to eventually win an NBA championship. And now of course you could say it's still pretty early, Embiid is very early within his career, which is certainly true, but the reason why I'm saying this is because it's pretty clear at this point that Ben Simmons doesn't want to be here anymore, and more likely than not he's either going to get traded or just somehow not be in the roster relatively soon. And basically at that point, once Ben Simmons is off the roster, all you really would have from the process is just Joel Embiid and whatever assets you get in return for Ben Simmons, which probably won't be equal value to what Ben Simmons is in my opinion, especially at this point with Ben's value being extremely low. Of course the Sixers could still win an NBA championship. Maybe they trade away Ben and maybe they get some great assets in return and really build around Joel Embiid and just build a better offense for him, because I think it was pretty clear that the Ben Simmons Joel Embiid experiment didn't work out. But it's more than just Ben Simmons. There were so many other draft picks as the Sixers had that just didn't pan out for them. And overall in my opinion, due to multiple factors, I just think the process didn't necessarily work out and wasn't a success for the Sixers. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you guys think that the Sixers process did work out for them, or do you think it didn't? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy it, please leave a like and subscribe and hit that post notification bell. It really helps me out a lot. Until the next time, peace out guys.
Dosage. Oh yeah, I work with the medics. I'm about to get you injected. I got a couple connections so I can get you prosthetics. Hope you can't go where I'm headed.